What's up YouTube and welcome to a new video. Now a few weeks ago I showed you that 996 Carrera values are absolutely flying, but to my surprise this doesn't go for the turbo. Price trends are similar, but the trend in the turbo market is simply lacking momentum. In this video I will show you exactly what is happening in the 996 turbo market and why I think that value-wise they might be at their top right now. But before we do all of that, let's first have a look at the complete turbo market and figure out how it relates to the 996 turbo market. Over here we have the US turbo market of December. The model year is displayed on the horizontal axis and the price on the vertical axis. You can also see that each generation has a different color. We have the 996, 997, 991 and 992. Now a few things are interesting about this graph. First of all, we can see that it are the 996s and 992s which really stand out in terms of price points. 992 prices are clearly a lot higher than 991 prices and 996 prices are clearly a lot lower than 997 prices. The 996 market has a median price point of $65,000 and the 997 market of $105,000. So we are looking here at a premium of $40,000 for a 997. That is significant and also raises the question if it's worth it, but I will let you be the judge of that. Another thing which you can see here is that each generation has significant price outliers, and you can see that the absolute difference between the most expensive car in the market and an average car is smaller for the older than for the newer cars. Yet in relative terms, the price premium for the most expensive cars remains more or less the same. But let's zoom in now to the 996 turbo market. This is a video after all about the 996 generation. The other generations will feature in future videos. Over here we have the 996 market and we can see that there are currently 52 cars for sale. And this makes it the rarest car compared to the other generation. Now as we already discussed, there are also some significant price outliers. Prices start at $40,000 but go up to $100,000. So what is driving these prices? We can see from this chart over here that it's probably not the model year. After all, prices don't differ a lot between the model years. So what on earth can it be? Are it perhaps the manuals which go for a significant premium, or are it the cars which have the X50 package? Let's have a look at that with the following plot. Over here we have on the horizontal axis the items which I have available and which might influence the price. We have the model year, the mileage, the transmission type, the color, the roof type and something I called the model type detailed. And this is the presence of the X50 package. Now in total, all of these factors combined can explain the price variation for around 88%. And that's quite a good score. Yet, we can also see on the vertical axis which of these factors is most important. In relative terms, so not in absolute terms, the mileage can explain 82% of the 88% price variation what we can explain. Are you still with me after that? In practical terms, this simply means that it is the mileage which is the key price driver in the 996 turbo market, when you also consider all of the other factors. But this doesn't mean that the other factors are not important. Let's assume that we have two cars with an equal mileage. We can see then that the model year, the transmission type, the roof type and the presence of the X50 package set the price. To be more specific, it are the bright colors such as the blue and red ones which demand a premium of around $1,000 to $2,000, all else equal. The coupes which are more expensive than the cabriolets, the manuals which are more expensive than the automatics, and the cars with the X50 package which are more expensive than the cars which don't have this package. So in practical terms this means that it's first and foremost the mileage which sets the price. Yet if we have two cars with an equal mileage, a manual coupe with a bright color and X50 package will have a price which is higher than a car which doesn't have all of this. There are of course other factors which come into play here, such as the maintenance history and the general condition of the car, but these are unfortunately very difficult to capture in the data. So we are now up to date on today's market. We know what the price levels are and what drives them, but we didn't discuss yet the main topic of this video. The price development of the 996 Turbo. It's namely a bit disappointing given the price frenzy that we saw in the used car market. Moreover, it's lagging to its smaller brother, the 996 Carrera. Let's have a look and figure out what's going on. But before we do that, if you like this video, please support the channel by clicking on the like button down below. Thank you. You can also follow me on Instagram if you like. It's @4wheeltrader. I don't post too many pictures over there, but I frequently post car market updates in my stories. Now then, the price development in the 996 Turbo market. Over here we have the median price development for the last 1.5 years. We can see immediately that prices increased a lot between June 2020 and May 2021. They went up from $51,900 to $63,900. And that's an increase of 23%. Yet, prices hardly moved since last summer. They only increased by 2%. This price increase over here is then also so small that it is not statistically confirmed. And this simply means that the price change can be the result of chance. Nevertheless, we can see that prices increased with 26% during the last 1.5 years. And this doesn't sound like a disappointing increase, right? I bet that many 996 Turbo owners are very happy with this. It's only when you put things in the context of the 996 Carrera market that they start to look bad. So let's add that one. We have now in orange the Turbo and in blue the Carrera. If you squeeze your eyes a little bit, these trends look very similar. It's only when we look at the numbers that the differences become apparent. Between July 2020 and May 2021, the 996 Carrera namely increased with 40%, and that's an enormous difference to the Turbo. The Carreras definitely rode with the used car market trend, whereas the Turbos lagged behind. Now after this surge, values cooled down a bit, as the price change between May and August of this year was only 1%. Yet more recently we can see an acceleration in the price trend. Prices went up with 9%. And this means that over the full time period, the Carreras increased with 53% and the Turbos only with 26%. Now if you want to know more about this price increase in the Carrera market, then I recommend that you click on the pop-up banner right over here. That will bring you to the full market analysis. We will continue now with the Turbo market and figure out what's going on there. You see, I checked the various market splits to see if there were some market segments which increased more than others. And this is indeed the case, but not for the market segments which I initially expected to increase the most. I thought that the manuals would have increased more than the automatics. They did, but only by 3%. So that's not a material difference. It is in the roof type split that we can see large differences. Over here we have the coupes in orange and the cabriolets in blue. And this shows that prices were exactly the same in June 2020, but that they started to diverge after that. Coupes increased with 25% and cabriolets with 21%. Now that by itself is not so special, but it was the precursor for the price diversions what we can see after that. Coupes continued to increase as prices went up by 3%, whereas cabriolets actually saw a price decrease of 2%. And that's something which we didn't see for a long time, a price decrease. However, both of these changes are not fully statistically confirmed, so there is a small probability that they are the result of chance. Nevertheless, I think that this is an interesting development, especially if we consider the underlying market characteristics. Over here we have the supply, the median mileage and the median model year development. We can see first of all that supply has been stable in the cabriolet market, albeit a lot lower than in the coupe market. But that the coupe market saw a large supply decrease during the price increase. But this of course makes sense. It's not so strange to see a price increase combined with a price decrease. Now if we look at the median mileage, then we can see that it increased from 38 to 54,000 miles during the last 6 months. And remember that we saw that the mileage is an important price driver. So this further reinforces that it's likely that the coupe market continue to increase. After all else equal, higher mileage usually mean lower prices. And this contrasts to what we see in the cabriolet market. There we can see a small mileage drop, but we also saw that prices dropped. So to sum it up, given the development in the supply and the median mileage, I think it's fair to conclude that the price increase in the coupe market is a real price increase. But still, even if we consider only the coupe market, so the market segments which saw the largest price increase, the price increase doesn't come close to what we saw in the 996 Carrera market or the 997 Carrera market for that matter. Why could this be the case? Well, I have the following theory for this, and note that this is just a theory as I don't have all of the data to back this up. I think that the price increase is simply lower because the 996 Turbo is already further on its way to achieve a classic or collectible car status. First of all, prices increased already before June 2020, which is the first data point we looked at. In other words, prices were already going up before the price frenzy in the used car market started. If we look for example at the auction results from Bring a Trailer, we can see that prices have been increasing steadily from 2017 onwards. Sure, increases are not as significant as what we've seen lately, but it signals not only that 996 Turbos were bottomed out, but also that they started to creep up to this collectible status. And this of course contrasts to the Carrera market, which only started to increase during 2020. Now on top of all of this, we can see that market dynamics fit quite well with a car which has a collectible status or is on its way to becoming a collectible. We can namely see that prime examples are taken out of the market and that prices increased most for those cars that are in excellent condition. Let me show you. Over here we have the median price development over time, the median model year development over time and the supply development over time. but these graphs are now split by the different mileage buckets. The orange line shows, for example, the development for the cars which have a mileage between roughly 27 and 41,000 miles. Now if we look at these three graphs, we can see first of all that the prices went up most severe for the low mileage cars, so the cars with less than 27,000 miles. Prices moved in parallel between June 2020 and May 2021, but started to deviate after that. The higher mileage cars saw a slight flattening in the trend, while the low mileage cars saw an acceleration in the price trend, leading to a total price increase of 32%. And this acceleration in the price trend is supported by the supply development. We can see that supply for the low mileage cars decreased consistently from June 2020 onwards, while supply for the highest mileage cars increased significantly since May. So if we combine this with the price development graph, then it appears to be so that demand is highest for the low mileage cars. These cars were bought massively during the last 1.5 years, and this resulted in a strong supply drop and complementary price increase. And this pattern fits nicely with the market characteristics of a collectible car market. In such a market, it are the cars in prime condition which are in low supply and which go for the highest prices. And with that, let's wrap up and conclude. We started the video with an overview of the 996 Turbo and the price drivers, and this showed that it is mainly the mileage which sets the price in this market. We then continued by looking at the price development over time, and this revealed that with an increase of 26% during the last 1.5 years, the 996 Turbo lags to the 996 Carrera market and also to the 997 Carrera market. But when you actually think about this, it might make sense. The 996 Turbo market is already much more a collectible car market than the 996 Carrera market. First of all, prices are in a different stage. They already started to go up before the price frenzy in the used car market. Recent developments just added fuel to the fire and accelerated the increase. Second, we saw that the market dynamics also fit the one for a collectible car market. It are the prime examples which saw the largest increase, and supply for these cars decreased continuously during the last 1.5 years. And this is, for example, different in the Carrera market, where the complete market shifted up with an equal amount. Now based on all of this, I think it's likely that the 996 Turbo reached its price ceiling for the near-term future. Most people know what's the deal with the Turbo, and this is reflected in the prices. Prices have been trending up for a long time, but started to flatten in the last 6 months. Cabriolets even saw a price decrease. At the same time, we also saw that at the market level, supply stabilized at around 50 cars. So if you are into cars to make a quick profit, the 996 Turbo market might not be the best place for you. On the other hand, if you are in it for the love of a 996 Turbo, I don't see any reasons as to why you shouldn't get one. Given the current market situation, I also don't foresee any large price decreases in the near-term future. And with that, we arrive at the end of this video. Now I know that many of you would like to see the same type of analysis, but for a different turbo generation. So you can expect to see those videos in the upcoming weeks. As always, if you would like to see something else than a 911 Turbo, you can also comment the car for which you would like to see a video down below in the comment section. Once there are enough requests for a certain car, I will make a video about it. As always, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next week for a new video.